Thank you. Wow. Have we ever seen spirit like we have right now? Have we ever seen it? I don't think so. You know why? Because we gave them a chance and they're destroying our country. They're destroying our country. Hello, New Hampshire. I'm thrilled to be back in your beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. And let me begin by wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. Remember? We couldn't say that. Seven years ago, they didn't want us to say it, but we now say it proudly, and people are saying it right back at us. We're just 38 days away from New Hampshire's first in the nation primary, and you know why you're first in the nation? Because I kept you first in the nation. And I have to say, unlike Biden, he didn't keep you first in the nation. That we know. On Tuesday, January 23rd, we're going to win the New Hampshire primary, and then we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November, and we're going to make America great again. During this holiday season, families all across America are struggling under the brutal weight of Crooked Joe's failures, disasters, and heartless betrayals. You know that? While the stock market is making rich people richer, Biden's inflation catastrophe is demolishing your savings and ravaging your dreams. His sky-high energy prices, nobody's ever seen anything like it, are brutalizing your wallets. Our border has been erased. We have no border any longer. Drugs, criminals, gang members, and terrorists are pouring into our country. They're running wild in our Democrat-run cities, while Christians and conservatives are persecuted. And thanks to Crooked Joe's breathtaking weakness, he is bad. Worst president in history. The world is going up in flames while you suffer the ravages of inflation, and your buying power goes down to levels never seen before. Your buying power has never been seen anything like this before. Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He is truly the worst, most incompetent, and most corrupt president in the history of our country. But with your vote in this election, together we're going to save America, and we're going to bring our country back from hell. It's in hell. It's in hell. Not one thing has gotten better under Crooked Joe Biden. Under the Trump administration, you were better off. Oh, you were better off. Your family was better off. Your neighbors were better off. Your communities were better off. And your country as a whole was better off. America was stronger, richer, safer, and more confident than ever. When you had a certain gentleman behind the desk, a beautiful, resolute desk in the Oval Office. What was his name? His name was Trump, happened to be Trump. But it was all of you, actually. In a certain sense, you were all sitting behind that desk, because that's what we're all doing together. We're in this together. We have a fight to save our country. We have a fight to save our country. Were you better off 5 years ago, or are you better off today? No contest. There's no contest. Nobody would say today. What a difference a president can make. It really does make a difference, a big difference, bigger than even I thought. If you go back 7, 8 years, I never thought it could make. It makes a tremendous difference. Since Joe Biden took over, we've had a 3-year inflation rate of over 20%. Under my leadership, inflation was non-existent. We had gasoline at $1.87 a gallon. After 3 years of Bidenomics, they call it Bidenomics from hell, the average monthly mortgage payment has gone from $1,746 under my administration to $3,322 today, but you can't get the money, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Biden's handlers are making the banks much richer and making you much poorer. The handlers, they are making the banks rich, and the banks discriminate against conservatives. They discriminate against religion because they're afraid of the radical left, I suspect. I think the bank regulators are doing a big number in the banks because they're not allowed to do business with you, and we're going to get those banks when we get in office. We're going to get them. Nobody knows the banking industry better than me, and I'm not going to let them take advantage of you any longer. They've taken advantage, and what they do to the people in this room, and by the way, millions and millions of others, is a disgrace. We're going to end it. Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are incapable of solving any problem. They haven't solved anything. They've only created problems. As long as Joe Biden is in the White House, the American dream is dead. But all of that will change the minute the polls close on election night 2024. It's going to end. It's going to end. The next economic boom will begin the instant the world knows that crooked Joe Biden is gone and Donald J. Trump has won 4 more years as President of the United States. Powered by the momentum of our historic victory, and that will be truly the biggest. I think we probably have #1 spot. I don't even think there's much of a doubt about it. 2016, but this is bigger. This is bigger. I never thought I'd say it. This is bigger. This will be a historic victory. By Christmas of next year, the economy will be roaring back. Energy prices will be plummeting. The hordes of people charging across our border will have ended. The invasion of our country will have stopped. Will have stopped. We will stop the invasion very quickly. We'll get Tom Homan. We'll get Brandon Judd. We have such great people. They'll stop it very, very quickly. Because just like 3 years ago, they know that I will catch them and send them home. We were sending them home by the thousands. MS-13, thousands and thousands of gang members sent back home. And the entire world will be safer and more peaceful because everyone knows that the days of American weakness, how pathetic we are, American weakness and submission will be over. It's going to be over. You know, we sent out, I don't know if you know, thousands and thousands of MS-13 gang members, the worst. These are the worst. We sent out thousands of them, and the countries didn't want to take them because under Obama, they never took them. They never took them. So when I came into office, the people heading up big departments were saying, sir, they won't take any of these bad people that they've sent over here purposely. I said, yes, they will. How much do we pay them? Because we give everybody money because we're foolish. So we stopped a lot of it, I will tell you. We would have stopped it all. But then a thing called COVID came along. We had to solve that problem. A gift from China, the China virus. You're right. I said, how much do we pay them? El Salvador, Honduras, how much do we pay them? They said $750 million. That's peanuts compared to a lot of them. I said, inform them that we're not paying them any longer. And I got calls from the 3 of them, Guatemala. I got calls from the 3 of them the next day. Sir, is there a problem? Yeah, the problem is you don't take. They would put airplanes on the runway so you couldn't land the planes with the people that we brought, prisoners that we brought back. We didn't want them in our country. They would stop the road so you couldn't get the buses that people in would come back. This is under Obama with Biden, if you can believe it, Biden. So I said, that's okay. We're not going to pay them anymore. As soon as they heard that, they called up 3 of them separately. Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. What's the problem, sir? I said, you're not taking the people that you sent us back. You're not sending the people that were in your jails. You're not taking them back. Well, but sir, you haven't paid us the money that you're supposed to pay. I said, no, I'm not going to pay. Sir, really, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We would love to take them back, sir. Don't you understand that? So they took them back, and we took out thousands and thousands of people in this country, and I mean the most vicious people you've ever seen. Gang members, a lot of terrorists. We took out people that nobody believed, and we had for 4 years. I never talked about it during the 4-year period. I didn't want to give myself a little bad luck, and then the next day something happens. We didn't have one attack in 4 years. We had the travel ban. We banned people from coming in that weren't good. The Biden administration is running on the fumes of the great success of the Trump administration. They're just running on the fumes of what we did with the tax cuts and the regulation cuts. Without us, this thing would have crashed to levels never seen before. And if we're not elected, we will have a depression, the likes of which you haven't seen since the Depression of 1929. We're not talking about a recession. You're going to have a lot worse than that. The way they're wasting trillions of dollars on Green New Deal nonsense and giving it away to other countries. Crooked Joe Biden's failed presidency has already cost your family tens of thousands of dollars a year, and now he's running on the biggest and most punishing tax hike in American history. You know that. He's going to quadruple your taxes. Biden plans to obliterate the Trump tax cuts and raise income taxes on American families all across the nation. Crooked Joe will put you really in the poorhouse, and I think I don't even get the politics of it. What is the politics of it? They don't know what they're doing, but you're going to be in the poorhouse to fund his big government Green New Deal, which is a socialist scam. And you know what? You have to be careful. It's going to put us all in big trouble. The Green New Deal that doesn't work. It's a Green New Scam. Let's call it from now on the Green New Scam. Okay. Windmills, windmills. I do like that term. I just came up with that one. I have to. No, I do like that term. The Green New Scam. It will forever be known as the Green New Scam. I like that. I like that. Here is my pledge to every New Hampshire family. I will never let the Trump tax cuts, and they are the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, I will never let them be taken away from you, and with your vote in this election, we will cut your taxes even further. That's what built our economy. That's why we had such a strong economy. Biden is also trying to impose a vicious increase to the estate tax or the death tax, wants to put you out of business. It's a shame. What a shame. As president, I virtually eliminated the death tax, and I will stop Biden's theft of American wealth when I'm back in the White House. We're going to stop it so fast. You know, under the Trump tax cuts, if you have a small business, if you have a farm, you don't have to pay any estate taxes. They were taking away your businesses. They were taking away your farms. The farmers had a problem because they were a little bit, you would say, land rich. But it was great. It was a great wealth, but it wasn't cash. And they had to go out and they had to borrow money from banks. And then the banks would, come down and foreclose because they couldn't pay it because they had such a high tax. We got rid of it. We got rid of the estate tax. A lot of people don't even know that, but we got rid of the estate tax for farms, small businesses. And I hope you're happy with that. I always say, if you love your children, it's a big deal. If you don't love your children, it doesn't matter that much. Is there anybody in the room that does not love their children? I'd like to say. Yes, he raises a hand, but he's just a child. He's just a child. There's a man right there. Oh, look, he's serious about it. Wow, he's serious about it. All right, well, then you shouldn't listen to those words. You earned your money and you spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in doing it, and I want you to keep it in your family, and that's what we did. Sadly, the backstabbing establishment losers and the sellouts lagging far behind us in the Republican primary. They are really far. Whatever happened to the surge? Whatever happened to the bounce? You know, with Nikki, they talk about the surge. And with the sanctimonious, they talk about the bounce. They've been talking about it for the last 6 months. And the only one that had a surge and the only one that had a bounce is Trump. We had the big surge. I saw where they said last week, Nikki Haley is surging. And then I said, oh, that's not good news. That's not good. And she is compared to him, but not compared to us. So we're like at 70. She's at 7. And she went up to 8. And he went down to 9. And she could overtake him, but we'll be about anywhere from 50 to 60 to 70 points above. And they talk about the surge. You have to read the story to believe it. That's the fake news. There is no surge. No, there is no surge. It's fake news. Whoa. There's a lot of them back there. Whoa. There's a lot of fake news back there. What are you doing? You don't have anything better to do on a Saturday afternoon? Look at all. But they're the sellouts that are lagging far behind us in the Republican primary at record levels. You know, the Des Moines Register came out in Iowa, and they had a poll that had me up by the largest number in the history of the poll. Other than that, we're not doing so well. No, in Iowa, we're ahead by like 45 points. I don't mean we're at 45. I mean we're ahead by 45. They gotta start that surge fast. They got to start that bounce. They got to get that bounce going. But these are people that can't be trusted on taxes, on trade, or on anything else, frankly. They will betray you just like they betrayed me. Does that make sense to you? You know what I mean, right? Does everybody know what I mean when you get betrayed? And when you get betrayed, you don't put up with it. And remember this, look, New Hampshire does not want politicians who support higher gas taxes at 23% national sales tax like the sanctimonious did. That's all you want. Let's give you a little sales tax of 23%. You don't want politicians who want to gut Social Security and Medicare like both of them or our great senior. I don't even talk about the others. You know, you still have this guy. Don't think of it in the race. I looked the other day. We like Ramaswamy. You know why? Because he likes Trump. I like him. This is probably a personality defect, but I tend to like people that like me. But if you take a look at Hutchinson, this guy's still in the race. He's been at 0. Hutchinson has been at 0 for 6 months, and he's still out campaigning. Ada, I call him Ada. It's Asa. I have to say it's Asa because otherwise they'll say, oh, he didn't know his name. He didn't know. No, I call him Ada. It's a more appropriate name. But no, this guy's out campaigning. He's been at 0. One poll had him 0 with an arrow pointing less. That means he's at less than 0 for months. He's been campaigning. Does he have nothing better to do? And he says, what about Chris? Please, sir, do not call him a fat pig. We cannot call. Says, what about Christie? He's a fat pig. You can't call. No, look. Please do not call Chris Christie a fat pig. Okay? It's not appropriate. Because you're not allowed to use the word fat. Use the word pig, but you can't use the word. No, we don't want to call him that. I don't want to call him that. And all of them, they oppose the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-afflicted countries. If that's okay with you, I'd rather have that. We're going to have very little crime in this country very soon. As soon as we get in, we're going to have very little crime in this country. There are some in New Hampshire who are actually advocating radical left Democrats to vote in our Republican primary to help make our big lead look a little bit smaller. It's not going to have a huge effect, but you know what? Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. These are just These are subversive people. Don't let it happen. We need to send them a message. We have to send the whole world a message because the world thinks our country is a total mess, and it is. You don't want a candidate to do your bidding and the bidding of Wall Street, the Washington establishment, the fake news media, the deep state, and the military-industrial complex, of which I was a big contributor because I bought more. I rebuilt our entire military. Much of it coming from New Hampshire, as you know. Much of that beautiful new stuff, unfortunately, gave a lot. They gave a lot. They gave a lot to Afghanistan, about $85 billion worth, which is in the most shocking and horrible period of time, I think, in the history of the most embarrassing period of time in the history of our country. 13 incredible soldiers killed, 38 horribly wounded, arms, legs, face horribly obliterated, hundreds of people dead, and leaving a lot of Americans behind, and leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind. These people are stupid people. They're stupid. They're stupid people. You know, we didn't lose one soldier in Afghanistan for 18 months. I told the head of the Taliban, the media got upset when I called. They said, why would you speak to the Taliban? I said, that's where the problem is. Remember, they asked Jesse James, Jesse, the great bank robber, Jesse, why do you go after banks? He said, because that's where the money is. I went after the Taliban because that's where the killing was. And I spoke to Abdul, and I said, Abdul, don't do it, Abdul, don't do it. We didn't lose. It was a rough conversation, but that's okay. We didn't lose one soldier from that conversation on. 18 months, we didn't have one soldier. Under Obama and Biden, they had a lot of people. We didn't lose one soldier until that horrible day, that horrible, stupid day. What a stupid group of people. They took the military out first. No, you take the military out last. You get your people out first. You get your equipment out. You get your people that have helped us out. There are those people. Of course, you know, we won a war. We took people that we have no idea who they are. We didn't take the people that helped us. We took whoever was able to get into those airplanes. Remember the sight of those planes pulling up with many people on the planes, hanging onto the wheels and falling at 3,000 feet. I mean, it was what a mess. What a mess. This guy Biden is the worst we've ever had. The worst. No, New Hampshire wants a president who will never betray you, who will never forsake you, and who will never sell you out. You're not going to be sold out. And you know that because for 4 years I was your president, and you had the greatest 4 years that you've ever had. And that's why next month New Hampshire is going to weed out the insincere rhinos. Rhino. Does everybody know what that is? Republican in name only. You know, when Biden says we must stop MAGA, we must stop. Let's see, is it called MAGA? I think it's called MAGA, which, by the way, is the greatest political movement by far in the history of our country. And I just wish like that would be on a debate stage, because I'd say, Joe, do you know what MAGA stands for? He'd go, no. And then, of course, the announcers, like a Chris Wallace, would come to his, would save him. You have no right to ask that question. Meantime, Joe would be standing there not knowing what the hell's happening. But listen, I say, Joe, do you know what MAGA stands for? MAGA stands for, Joe, Make America Great Again. That's all it stands for. There's nothing tricky. There's nothing tricky. But you'll be able to vote for your all-time favorite president, me, which is you. Together we will continue to fight for the state like no one has ever before. Nobody's ever fought for your state like I did. I didn't like your governor very much, but I got him everything he needed. This guy, let me tell you, this guy could have run for the Senate. He could have won because he's got a name a long time. I liked his father, actually. Once I won, his father was nice. Before that, he was nasty. But once I won, he was very nice. I don't know what happened to him. But his son is, he's like a spoiled brat. The son is like a spoiled brat. But here's the story with him. So he ran for president without having the courage to run for president. He was all over the country campaigning. And he got like 2. He was beating Ada Hutchinson. That was about it. He was beating Hutchinson by 2 points. Even here in New Hampshire, I think I was beating by 60 or 70 points, right? He was, and you know what? He's hurt himself so badly. So he's endorsed somebody that can't win, has no chance of winning, and he's out there working, but he's a selfish guy. He could have won the Senate at that time. Now he couldn't get elected dog catcher, but he could have won the Senate, and we would have had a majority. But he decided not to. So we put some other guy up there that nobody ever heard of. And he almost won. He lost, but it was close. But he could have, because of name recognition, he could have won. But he was a selfish guy. He said, I want to run for president. And he had no chance, no chance. He had less chance, well, right in the same category. So what he did is, his wish was whatever he could do to stop Trump, because he didn't like me and I didn't like him. But the thing is, I didn't like him. I always felt guilty. I gave New Hampshire everything they asked for and much more. And it's hard to do that when you can't stand the governor, right? But a selfish guy. And when we had the race in New Hampshire, he didn't help us at all. I called him. I said, would love to have your help. And he said, oh, I'll do that. I'll do that. And he didn't do a damn thing. He didn't lift a finger. We can ask Steve about that. We can ask Corey about that. He didn't lift a damn finger. So he's a selfish guy who can't get elected anything right now. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Because you know what? You have one of the great states, and we're the ones that kept you there. We are the ones that really, and it's important to me, it's like a tradition. And I think what the Democrats did is a terrible, terrible thing. In fact, Biden essentially isn't running in your state. I would say that's a pretty good slap. So they're trying to do some write-in votes to see if they can keep him. But what a mess. This guy, what he's done to our country is a disgrace. What he's done to our country is a disgrace. So to defend New Hampshire workers and manufacturers, I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. You know what that is? That's the greatest thing ever. I love it. If China or any other country makes us pay a tariff or a tax, let's say 200 or 100 or 300%, you have no idea how big they are, then we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax the exact same amount, 100, 200, 300%. Right? That's easy. I had a certain senator that's not into the financial world, and he said to me, so, you know, because we were all set to get that passed, and then we got hit with COVID, and we had to worry about that one. But we were all set to get that passed. Reciprocal Trade Act, my favorite, just about my favorite thing, because all these countries, they rip us off. Now, we put big taxes. You know, you don't realize we took in hundreds of billions of dollars because of me from China. Nobody else took in 10 cents, but we took in hundreds. But we had a reciprocal act with some of them, but they all rip us off. We were all set to get it done, but I had to convince one senator, so I went to him and I said, listen, here's the story. Nice guy, but not into this. If they charge us a tax, we charge them a tax. He goes, wait a minute, let me get this straight. They charge us, we charge them, right? That's it? Yeah, that's it. Very simple. You got my vote. You got my vote. How can you not vote for that? But we have people that would actually say, no, sir, we want to keep it the way it was. And which probably means that somebody's taken pretty good care of them, I'll be honest with you. I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status, which is ridiculous. They say they're a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation, too. All you have to do is take a look at our Democrat-run cities, which are being destroyed. And we will impose stiff penalties on China and all other nations as they abuse us. And I did that with China, hundreds of billions of dollars. The reason China is not doing very well right now, as you probably are reading, but they're not doing well is because of the big tariffs that they're paying to the United States. And I want them to do well. I think it's fine, but they can't abuse us. For years and years, they were abusing us. And I was talking about it for years. One of the reasons I ran, and other countries also, by the way, they're not all alone, I can tell you that. I will also immediately stop crooked Joe Biden's latest ripoff of the American people, his plan to give, listen to this, global climate reparations to foreign nations. He's going to give billions of dollars because he's saying that we have a dirty climate. And he's going to give billions and billions of dollars to foreign nations that think we're the dumbest people in history, okay? Billions. He's going to give reparations to other countries that have filthy climates, by the way. You know, the one thing about climate, so we fight like hell, and they put up all these windmills all over the place that if you add the cost of rebuilding, and they're all rebuilt, in China. They're all built in China and Germany. And they said, let's assume you're a big believer in this. They send big fumes in. So you add it all up, and it's terrible. You can't get rid of the blades. They only last 10 years. The energy is the most expensive energy you can do. They kill all our birds. If you want to see a bird cemetery, go under a windmill sometime. You'll see birds like you never saw. If you love birds, you'll start to weep. But it's just the craziest thing. They ruin our plains and fields. They're killing our whales. The whales are coming in. I think we had one whale come in 50 years. This year we had like 12. It's a terrible thing they're doing to our country. And they're doing it under the auspices and basis of we have to maintain our land. So here's the problem. China is right now building 50 coal-fired plants, okay? Big plants, bigger than anything we have. 50 of them. They're building on average one a week, and now I understand the average is going to close than 2 a week. We're getting rid of all of our stuff. For wind, and here comes the wind. Oh. It's not powerful enough to fire up our factories. Solar. You ever see a solar area? They take up areas of the desert. They might as well take the whole damn desert, And I like the concept of solar, but it's not powerful like what we need to fire up our factories. We can't do it. Let's put it this way. It's not working. You can have a solar, you can have a little, you could even have some wind if you want it. But wind is 42 times more expensive than natural gas. Think of it. 42. And we have more, I call it, what do I call it? Liquid gold. Liquid gold. Beautiful, beautiful liquid gold. They have more liquid. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world. Any other country. No country has what we have. And what do? We build windmills all over the place. And what do? We go to Venezuela and we buy our oil from Venezuela. We buy our tar because they sell tar that we have to liquefy. It's not good. As we speak, New Hampshire families are paying the highest energy cost in the nation. Did you know that? You're number one. Your governor's doing a bad job when you're paying. When you pay the highest in the nation, your governor's not doing a good job. You have the highest energy costs in the United States of America. Yet instead of bringing down prices, Crooked Joe is trying to steal more of your money and to give it away to foreign atonement, they call it. We have to atone for our sins. We have to atone for our sins. Think of it. We're putting ourselves out of business for the last 15 years with the crap that we're building that doesn't work. Germany went this way, but they were smart. They immediately stopped. You know what they're doing now? They're building other plants, fossil fuel plants and coal plants all over their country. They had 2.5 years of economic death because what they were doing wasn't working. They were going to wind and solar and didn't have nearly the power. We should learn from these other countries, don't you think, instead of being stupid? Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. Yep. Drill, baby, drill. We'll make so much money. We're going to make so much money. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We were producing, we were third or fourth when I started. By the time I left, you have to see, I got to get the chart. We're going to put it up from now on. It's like Russia, Saudi Arabia, we were way down here. And by the end, we were way up above both of them and heading up. We were like a rocket ship. It was like a rocket ship sent by Kim Jong-un, just like that. Who was very nice, I will tell you. Everyone thought we were going to nuclear war, and I got in, and he and I had a very good relationship. That was nice, very nice. But he's not, Rocket Man, yeah. But he's not so fond of this administration, but he's fond of me. And we had a very good relationship. And I tried to convince the fake news, no, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, right? That's a good thing. We don't need nuclear missiles flying all over the place. So we did get along well, but he doesn't like this particular group of people very much, and I understand exactly why. Because he doesn't like incompetent people, actually. They are grossly incompetent. When I'm back in the White House, this globalist, it's really a Biden plot for climate reparations and all of this money going to other countries by the billions and billions and ultimately the trillions will be stopped on day one. We're not going to do that. We're going to start paying off debt. We won't be sending them one penny. I will end Biden's war on American energy, and we will, in fact, as you just said, drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And we're going to be sending all of the oil and gas all over the world, to Europe, to Asia, all over the world, and then we're going to start paying off massive amounts of debt, and then we're going to give you a further tax reduction from what we already gave you. And we're going to get rid of our debt, and we're going to get rid of a lot of great things, and a lot of, I'll tell you what, we're going to take care of some really big problems. You got some great big things that they thought were so fantastic, and they're horrible. Everything they're doing, like, I will kill his insane, very expensive and horrible and just the dumbest thing I've ever heard, electric vehicle mandate. Electric vehicle. They don't go far. Let's say, yes, you're in New Hampshire. Let's say, because Joe gets that mixed up a lot. He'll say, well, let's see, we're in Idaho now. No, Joe, you're in New Hampshire. So you're in New Hampshire, right? You're in New Hampshire. We want to, let's say, drive down to Boston. Let's say that's about 3 stops. 3 stops. Whereas you could go down and back with a tank of gasoline, I don't think you're going to like stopping. And the problem is you won't find a charger. And if you do, it's got lines. And they're trying to enforce this. The problem is, honestly, they don't go far. They're very expensive, and they're all going to be made in China. I was telling the United Auto Workers, I think they're going to all vote for me, other than the top 2 people. I think they're all going to vote for me. I said the deal is a killer because they're going all electric, and if you go electric, you're going to have those cars that got to be made in China because they have everything you need for electric. We have everything you need for a nice tank of gasoline. We have everything you need. We have it right under our feet. I think we're going to win the auto workers. I mean, I don't know if you saw in Detroit and Michigan, the vote. We're up 11 points in Michigan, which is pretty unusual. 11 points. Because they get it. You're not going to have an automobile industry anymore if they do this. You know the worst? They want to make all trucks electric. And the problem with the truck electric is a big, beautiful, brand new 18-wheeler, a big beauty, can go 2,000 miles on diesel fuel, right? Clean diesel fuel goes 2,000 miles. An electric truck, comparable size, but there's no such thing because the battery is so big you'd have to take up almost the entire truck to hold the battery. These are minor details, though, according to the Biden administration. So, but an electric truck, you'd have to stop. It goes 300 miles. So you got 2,000 miles versus 300 miles. That means you'd have to stop 6 or 7 times, whereas the other way you don't have to stop at all. And the trucking industry is up in arms because they don't know what to do. They're all going to be out of business. You talk about a supply chain problem. Wait till you see that one. And the worst thing is they want to make our army tanks all electric so that we can go in and we can blast the hell out of a foreign country. But we'll do it in an environmentally friendly way. These people are crazy. Crooked Joe puts China first. He puts Asia first, Ukraine first, illegal aliens first, environmental maniacs first. He puts everyone first, but he puts America last. He puts New Hampshire last. He puts our workers last. He puts our farmers last. He puts everything that's good. He puts it last. And I put New Hampshire first. And I put America first every single time. It's no wonder Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They're willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win. They will do anything to win. They'll do whatever they have, whatever they can. And remember this, Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. He's a threat. And we'll bring in adversaries, and I'll bring it in right now, but even Vladimir Putin. Has anybody ever heard of Vladimir Putin? of Russia says that Biden's, and this is a quote, politically motivated persecution of his political rival is very good for Russia because it shows the rottenness of the American political system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy. So, we talk about democracy, but the whole world is watching the persecution of a political opponent that's kicking his ass. It's an amazing thing. And they're all laughing at us. Viktor Orban, the highly respected prime minister of Hungary, said, Trump is the man who can save the Western world. He said this in an interview to him. That he had the best foreign policy in decades and it all belongs to Trump. He did not initiate a new war. And it would have been the greatest thing. Our world would have been a very different place right now. And he said that. He said it would have been very different. And there was no way that Russia, and he's right there, there's no way that Russia would have invaded Ukraine. It would not be possible for Russians to do that if President Trump were president. It wouldn't have happened. And guess what? It didn't happen. And you know what else wouldn't have happened? The attack on Israel wouldn't have happened. And inflation wouldn't have happened. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls. That's what they do. They cheat. They're professional cheaters at elections. Just as you probably saw last week and a couple of this week, 2 days ago, the Harvard-Harris poll is us leading Republican primary field by 56 points. Trump is 67, Ron DeSanctimonious is 11. And Nikki Haley is at 10%. Where is the bounce? I want to see that bounce. No, they're talking, they keep bouncing. They keep bouncing between each other. In the new Rasmussen poll just out, the general election, I guess 10 points ahead. That's not bad. In the Washington Post, how about that? 10 points and 11 points up on Biden. They were so unhappy. They said, it must be a mistake. It must be a mistake. So they went back and redid it, and they had to actually add another point. That was sort of a clip. And the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll just out has us beating Crooked Joe substantially in every swing state, like by every single swing state by a lot. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. Right? Not going to allow it. Right? Right? Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor because I am being indicted for you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never allow them to take away your freedom. It is very simple when you think about it. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in the way, and I will always be standing in their way. You know, I had a great life. I had a life of tremendous luxury. I built a tremendous company. You actually got to see that with this fake trial I have going on in New York. Tremendous cash, very low debt, greatest assets. Nobody has, very few people have assets like, and I could have been all over the world sampling my assets, right? And instead I'm in New Hampshire with you, and I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy. But they asked me, a lot of times I get asked this question, sir, you had the greatest life anybody could have. Would you do it again? I said, absolutely. I'm so honored to do it because we made America great, and then they've destroyed our country, and we're going to make it great again, greater than ever before, and there's nothing I can do that's going to top that. I've had plenty of the other life, right? We've had plenty of the other life. We got a lot of work to do. You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country, when they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall, and then we're going to build more. And the election was rigged, and we didn't do it, but I figured they'd just throw it up. Would have taken 3 weeks. It was all built. It was all ready to be just hoisted up. The exact wall that the Border Patrol, who are incredible, Brandon, Judd, and all of the people at Border Patrol, that's exactly what they designed. They had the anti-climb bars. They had everything. And you know what they did? They didn't want it to go up. They sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. Can you believe it? All of that stuff. It's a very sad thing. This is far more than a campaign. This is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. It really is. There's never been anything like that. We're engaged in a righteous crusade to liberate this nation from a corrupt political class that is waging war on American democracy like never before. We've never seen anything like this before. If you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation once again. We are not a free nation. So we're joined today by some wonderful people. Republican National Committeeman Bill O'Brien. Bill, wherever you may be. We're Bill. I don't know where you are, Bill. There are a lot of people in here. Caroline Levitt, she's fantastic. Where is she? She is fantastic. Wow. You are something. I watch her on television just ripping people's hearts out. Thank you, Caroline. A man who I just think he's fantastic. He loves his state. More than any place, he loves his state. This is where he wants to be. He has a lot of options. He's done very well. But he loves you, and he loves our country, and he had so much to do with our success. Corey Lewandowski. Corey? Great guy. He's a great guy, and I'm thrilled to receive the endorsements of State Senator Kevin Avard. Kevin Avard. Where's Kevin? He's around here someplace. Thank you, Kevin. That's a beautiful endorsement. Thank you. I appreciate it, Kevin. We won't let you down. As I say, we will not let you down. You know what he wants? He wants success for the country, right? So thank you, Kevin. Former State Senate President and candidate for governor Chuck Morse is here. Chuck, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. About time you get rid of that governor of yours. And the president of New Hampshire Federation of Republican Women, Elizabeth Girard. Elizabeth? Thank you. Good job. Thanks as well to New Hampshire Moms for America Action and their commitment. They're incredible. Moms for America just gave me the award, by the way, Man of the Year. That's a big one. That's a big one. Thank you very much. Thank you. Also with us are the Gold Star family members of Marine Sergeant Nicole G., who gave her life in Afghanistan, an unbelievable person, her mother-in-law, Christy Shamblin, and her aunt, Sherry Jules. Where are they? Thank you, Daddy. Looking down, right? Looking down. Incredible people. I got to know largely the parents and the relatives of the 13 people that were so unnecessarily killed, so incompetently run. There's never been anything like that. You take the soldiers out first. You're supposed to take the soldiers out last. And I had it set we were going to leave Afghanistan we were going to keep the air base, Bagram, because it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. They didn't keep it. You know who has it now? China has it, one of the biggest air bases in the world. But I got to know the relatives, parents, and other relatives of these 13 people very well. We went to Bedminster, New Jersey, where I have a place, and they all came, and we listened to music all through the night, and they thought I'd be there and stop by and say hello for about 5 minutes. Oh, do you think you'll come? Oh, I ended up, did I stay like 3 hours? We listened to music all night, right? And it was beautiful music, and they thought of their loved ones looking down. It was outside. It was such a beautiful night, right? And we'll do it again. We're going to do that again. They said, do you think you'll stay 15 minutes? I said, no, not 15. How about 3 hours? That's about what we were together with. It was that was pretty great. But we love all of you, and we will never forget her sacrifice. In that case, she was a fantastic person in every way. For 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. And I kept the entire world safe. As Viktor Orban said, he kept the entire world safe. He said they respected him, and America, when he was president, was feared. We were feared. It's not a nice word to use, but we were feared. They didn't play games with us, and now they laugh at us like we're a bunch of foolish jerks. What a horrible turn at stake. And we will once again have peace through strength when all of us become the 47th President of the United States. Okay? As president, I fully rebuilt the U.S. military, created Space Force. Remember, they didn't want Space Force. I said, well, if you don't do it, China and Russia are up there right now, and we've now taken it over. We've really dominated since the creation of space, but that was a big deal. The Democrats didn't want it. When Biden came in, he heard about Space Force, probably the first time he heard about it, And he laughed. He thought it was funny. He thought it was some kind of a war game. No, it wasn't fun. It's going to be one of our most important. First, think of it. First new area of division. First new thing that we created militarily for so many years. We were stuck in a very old-fashioned military. And now what we did with Space Force, I guess the first since 78 years, Air Force was the last, and then we did Space Force, and it's taken off. We're dominating now. We're dominating China, and we're dominating Russia, which are the two that are up there, and they were there long before us. So the creation of Space Force is such a big deal. And I was the only president in decades who didn't start a war. Instead, I got us out of wars and endless wars. And one of the wars I got us out of was a war against ISIS. We defeated ISIS. It was supposed to take 4 years, and I got it done in 4 weeks. Would you say that's good? Because we have the greatest military on earth. We have the greatest leaders, but not the guys on television. Not the ones on television. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise to you. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent World War III. Because our country has never been so unsafe. You're talking about the power of weaponry today compared to the Second World War and the First World War. It's times 1,000. Most powerful weapons ever even thought about, ever conceived, ever built. And we can't have a world war. And we're closer to World War III today than we've ever been at any time in our history. And the word nuclear is being thrown around every single day. When I was president, we didn't talk about nuclear. You couldn't talk about it. It was a word that was banned. You couldn't talk. Now they talk about it every day. We talk about it. They talk about it. And we will keep you out of World War III. World War III is not going to be army tanks going back and forth, shooting at each other. Boom, boom. An airplane having a little fight in the sky. This is the big stuff. And if it's going to be total obliteration, we cannot have World War III. We will keep you out of it, and we'll keep you out of it because of strength, because of the strength that we have. But we have a man now negotiating for us. We have a man now negotiating for us who truly can't speak. He can't put two sentences together. They ask him a question at a news conference. He has no idea what the hell they're talking about. And when you look at what he did and what he says, even to Russia, when they did attack Ukraine, the way he spoke was so bad. I said, I think it looks like that's going to happen, because what he's saying is so bad. It's the exact opposite of what you should be saying. He can't put two sentences together, and he's responsible for negotiations on nuclear weapons in World War III. The guy makes a speech. He can't find the steps. They're all over the place. See this stage? This stage has 1, 2, 3, 4. Most stages have more than that. But in New Hampshire, they want to cut back on the costs a little bit. So they only give me 4 options. But when I'm finished, I actually pick one of the 4. He can't find the stairs. And if he finds them, he can't get down them. The whole thing is not believable. Can you imagine President Xi of China, powerful kind of a guy? They hate when I say that. Oh, you're saying nice things now. He controls 1.4 billion people rather ruthlessly, right? Can you imagine when he sees this guy walk into an office or walk? I wonder what he's. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I'd like to hear what they. I will tell you. Number one, they can't believe it. But our country is in great danger. Most dangerous because of weaponry and because of where we are and all of the things that are happening. Again, Ukraine wouldn't have happened. Israel wouldn't have been attacked. Inflation wouldn't have happened. Oil price wouldn't have gone like they. Part of the reason that Russia could go in, because at $100 a barrel, Russia's making a fortune. They'll be the only country to make money during a war. Wars are very expensive. But because of that, they drove it up. And this guy has no clue as to what's happening. We're at the most dangerous point in the history of our country, in my opinion. And unfortunately, I've been right a lot of times, Remember the hat that goes, Trump is always right? I have been just about right. He said all the time, I have been right. And I don't want to make that prediction because I don't want it to be a prediction, but there's a real chance that we could be in a world war, and it won't be like any other, believe me. Together we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built 561 miles of border wall and got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. 28,000. I don't know now. It's a good time, and it is a Saturday afternoon, and everyone is like, what the hell are we doing on a Saturday afternoon? Does anybody want to hear the snake? Yes? Should I do the snake? Those beautiful ladies from North Carolina, they've seen about 100 rallies. I don't know what the hell's going on with their husbands. Are your husbands? Do the husbands have a little problem with it? Should I do the snake? No, they've come to 100 rallies. This is their 100th, and they're incredible. They have a group of about actually 50 of them, and we appreciate it. How are we doing? How are we doing in North Carolina? Okay, good. We're doing good. I think we're doing good everywhere. You know why? Because, number one, I did a good job, but also, when you compare it to the incompetence that we have right now, there's more spirit right now than we've ever had before. So this is sort of a metaphor, and this is about people coming into our country who are going to be a disaster because they come from jails and prisons. They come from mental institutions and insane asylums. They always say, sir, please don't use the term insane asylum. You know what that is? Silence of the Lambs, right? That's Hannibal Lecter, the legendary Hannibal Lecter. And they're coming into our country now totally unchecked, unvetted. And this is very much as to what's going to happen, in my very humble opinion. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried, but if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense? Because get used to it, because this country is going to go through hell if these very, very stupid people are allowed to stay in office. It's a horrible thing that's taking place. They are indeed evil people because they know what's happening. They know what they're doing. Anybody that can cheat on elections so well is not that stupid, okay? And that's what they're primo at cheating on elections. On my first day back in the White House, we beat them by swamping them. You know that, right? There's only so much they can cheat. We're going to have to swamp them, and then we'll straighten out our elections so that we'll go to paper ballots. We'll go to voter ID, same-day elections. Some of these elections in some states, they go on forever. They go on for 48 days. They go on forever. And then after the election's over, they say, oh, if you need another week, don't worry about it. How the hell do you add up an election if you need another week? No, we want to go paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion of our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Now, you know, as soon as we win, and I always like to say if, because, you know, we don't want to be stupid, if. But, you know, I feel we're doing very well, but I don't like to curse it. But as soon as we win, you know what's going to happen. People are going to flood out of the country. They're going to flood out before we even do anything. They're going to leave the country because they're going to understand that. I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, and I will implement strong ideological screening for all illegal immigrants. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country. We don't want you. We will restore law and order to our communities, and I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical, out-of-control, fake, crooked prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. I am also going to indemnify all police officers. This is a big thing, and it's a brand new thing, and I think it's so important. I'm going to indemnify through the federal government all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States from being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong actions against crime. Our law enforcement, our police officers are forced not to do anything when they want to. They really want to solve the problem. They're told not to do it under the threat of losing their pension, losing their house, losing their family. That's what's happening to them. They're losing everything. They're told not to do anything. We have to support our police. Our police know everything that has to be done. We're not going to allow anything bad to happen to them again. They have been totally put aside. If you remember, in Minnesota, Minneapolis, where they took over the police station. They took it over and they burned it down. By the way, what happened to those people? Are those people in jail with the J6 hostages? What happened to those people, come to think of it? They're not in jail with the J6 hostages. I don't call them prisoners, I call them hostages. They're hostages. In addition, we will take over our horribly run Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime, but rather it will become the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world. Our parks will be cleaned, all tents and graffiti will be removed, slum areas will be removed and rebuilt to the highest level of elegance and strength. And in addition to our capital, we're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. We're going to rebuild our cities. It will be the greatest investment ever made, and we will work with Democrat leaders of those cities. If you can believe that they have Democrats, every single one of them is run by Democrats, and they're all failing, and they're crime-ridden, and they're horrible. But all of these failing places to make sure that this rebuilding will be a lasting and compassionate one. It's going to be. Safety will again be restored so that children can go outside with their mothers and fathers and play in the park without being beat up, molested, or shot. Students will be able to walk to school in peace without worrying about death. Crime rates will plummet and people will no longer move. Look, they're moving out of the cities. They're going to move back into the cities. We want that to happen. Right now, they're moving out of the cities because they're crime-infested havens of hate. We're also going to stand up to the radical left, communists, Marxists, fascists, and frauds who have taken over our universities. They've taken over our universities. You saw that this week. They've destroyed the reputations of once highly respected schools like Harvard, MIT, Columbia, Stanford, University of Pennsylvania, the great Wharton School of Finance. It's so sad to see it all happening, and others. Indoctrinated our youth and brought censorship and anti-Semitism to our campuses. Under the Trump administration, if universities discriminate against conservatives, Christians, Jews, if they attack free speech, we're going to take away their tax advantages and grants. We're going to take away their endowments, and they will pay us billions and billions of dollars for the terror they have unleashed into our once great country. And by the way, it's not a great country anymore. It's a total mess. Our country is not a great country anymore. Our country is a mess. You remember CAG, Keep America Great. I couldn't use it. I said, America's not great now. I wanted to say, keep America great. So we went back to MAGA, make America great again. But it's not a great country anymore. It's a crime-ridden mess. We're also going to fight to give you much better health care. Obamacare is a catastrophe for all American families. Even Elizabeth Warren, often referred to as Pocahontas because of her great Indian heritage, says it needs to be fixed. Remember Pocahontas, everybody? But even Elizabeth Warren said it needs to be fixed. It's in bad shape, very, very expensive. Very expensive for the user. We're going to make it much less expensive for the people with much better health care. We're going to do something great in that. And again, we have so much wealth under our feet. The wealth under our feet is going to pay for all of this stuff. We're going to make so much money. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I can't believe I have to say it, but I do. Who would think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we'd have to say this? I will keep men out of women's sports. Can you believe that? That we would have to say that. And as I have done perfectly for 4 years, I will fully uphold your very important, very great Second Amendment. I will uphold your Second Amendment. I will protect innocent life. We will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections once and for all. We're going to have great elections. You have to have elections and you have to have borders. And if you don't have both of them perfect, you don't have a country. Our goal will be one-day voting. We're going to do that. We're going to do it. We're going to use that beautiful paper. We're going to use watermark. It's watermark paper. But until then, Republicans must win. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. They haven't. They wouldn't have. So if you want to save America from Crooked Joe and get every patriot you know, get them out to vote. You got to do it. Get everybody you know, get out and vote. Tuesday, January 23rd. Tuesday, January 23rd. Mark it down. And bring as many people as you can. Just bring them out. And also sign up at nh.donaldjtrump.com. Okay? And in conclusion, together we're taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. Never seen anything like it. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. It's your God-given right. From Manchester to... Thank you very much.
We love you.
It's a beautiful crowd, beautiful group of patriots, beautiful, beautiful people. From Manchester to Meredith, from Portsmouth to Plymouth, from Concord to Claremont, from Dixville to Dover, to right here in Durham. You inherit the legacy of red-blooded New Hampshire patriots who lived by the immortal motto, live free or die. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the ocean, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up those great, beautiful skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now, we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest levels in our history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just a few short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and many others for oil. Please, 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 Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country anywhere in the world. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be reducing their oil production while at the same time substantially increasing the price. And we met that threat by announcing that we will no longer be drilling for oil in large areas of Alaska or elsewhere in our country. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal is fake and will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all-electric cars, despite the fact that they can't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China with materials only available in China, when an unlimited amount of gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States, but it is not available in China. And now we are a nation that wants to make our revered and very powerful Army tanks the best in the world, all electric, so that despite the fact that they are also not able to go far, fewer pollutants will be released into the air as we blast our way through enemy territory in an environmentally friendly manner. And they also want to make our fighter jets with a green stamp of energy savings, though losing 15% efficiency, but allowing us to keep our enemy's atmosphere clean of emissions as we viciously and unceremoniously attack them at levels never seen before. Who are these people that would do this to us? Who are these people who would ruin our country? We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the United States just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a foolish and self-destructive thing? Can we be energy independent and even energy dominant again? Yes, oh yes, and very quickly, says President Trump. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world behind, and also abandoning Bagram, one of the biggest military bases anywhere in the world, and only 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your president, and for 4 straight years, it didn't happen. Likewise, the horrifying attack on Israel would have never happened. They wouldn't even have thought of doing it if President Trump was in the Oval Office. It would never, ever, ever have taken place. Iran was broke under the Trump administration. They didn't have the money to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, and all of the other instruments of terror. They had no money. They were totally broke. But those sanctions were lifted by a corrupt Biden administration, and now Iran is a rich country with over $200 billion and another $6 billion for hostages and $10 billion for dollars from electricity from Iraq, all compliments of the incompetent Biden administration. Iran has so much money, they don't know what to do with it. And China, with Taiwan, is next. We are a nation that allows the radical left to violently attack our cities, leaving behind massive destruction and death. And nothing happens to the violent criminals that do these terrible things. There is no punishment. But when people who love our country protest in Washington, they become hostages, unfairly imprisoned for long periods of time. We are a third world nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against opposing political parties like never, ever before. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald Trump to lie and to say it was fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, and the FBI knew that it wasn't, but 51 intelligence agents said it was, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war, which would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous world wars because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think about. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are indeed the enemy of the people. They refuse to discuss the Biden crime family, but enjoy covering the false indictments of Donald J. Trump, who has done nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, except win an election that a lot of people said couldn't be won. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed and where crime is rampant and out of control like never before. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And less than 3 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They respected us. They were afraid of us. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. Now Russia and China are holding summits to carve up the world. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer admired, respected, or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that in many ways is a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, faith, and to even God. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up, and kill their workers and customers, and leave with armloads of goods, but with no retribution, where the authority of our great police has been taken, where their families and pensions have been threatened, and their lives would be destroyed for the mere mention of the words law enforcement. We are a nation where fentanyl and other forms of illegal drugs are easier to get than groceries to feed our beautiful, beautiful families. We have become a drug-infested, crime-ridden nation, which is incapable of solving even the simplest of problems. We will institute the powerful death penalty for drug dealers, where each dealer is responsible for the death during their lives of more than 500 people. Mothers will never again be forced to watch their children overdosing and hopelessly dying in their arms, screaming, "What can I do? What can I do?" We are a nation whose once revered airports are dirty. They're a crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the planes won't leave, that they have no idea will they will, where ticket prices have tripled. They don't have the pilots. They don't have the planes. They don't see qualified air traffic controllers, and they just don't know what the hell they're doing. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, lost its willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hard-working patriots like you who built this country, and it is hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick political class. We will rout the fake news media. We will drain the swamp, and we will liberate our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all. Like those patriots before us, we will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, we will never give in, we will never give up, and we will never, ever back down. With your support, we will go on to victory, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House, and we will take back our country on Election Day 2024. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten men and women will be forgotten no longer. We will love our country. We will take care of our country. We will pray to God for the strength and for liberty. We will pray to God, and we will be with God. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, New Hampshire. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, New Hampshire.